Okay.
Cool. Oh,
So,
when I get a copy too, so I can put it on my Insta stories or something?
yeah, for sure,
Oh,
for sure. We'll send
okay.
you a copy.
Awesome.
So our first question is just, can you briefly introduce yourself a little bit and what you do?
Yeah, so my name is Chelsea Dunn. It's kind of a funky spelling. It's actually spelled with a K, and I purposely didn't put in my Instagram handle because it's such a unique spelling, and people would be like, how do you pronounce it? So I go by my initials KD, which is Chelsea Dunn. But I graduated from Arizona State 8 years ago. I studied information systems and computer science. And I've been in the tech field for about 8 years now. My first 4 years, I was working as a software developer in the distributed space. And then now I work on the operations and infrastructure side, which is kind of more systems focused, but I also do some dev work.
Cool. So our second question is that you've graduated from Arizona State University with a degree in computer science. So like what sparked your interest in computer science?
I love problem solving. Like I've loved problem solving since like I was a little girl. I've been tech support for my family, gosh, like since I was little. It started off with cell phones and then it kind of evolved into like computers and printers and setting up routers. So I really love connecting people with technology and helping them, but I love problem solving. Love
Great.
it.
That sounds great.
So second part of my question is that to expand upon that, what is the difference between like majoring in computer science and then information systems? Like what's the difference between the two?
Yeah, I can answer that because a lot of people, there's always a battle between CS majors and people that study information systems. And so computer science is more focused about the theory and mathematical theories. There's a little bit more math to it, whereas information systems kind of focuses on more of the procedures and processes and people and kind of how they all integrate and work together. And I hate that there's a negative perception against information systems majors because they are also technical. They may not have as much math classes as CS, but they're still a little bit of a technical. But that's kind of how the two are different.
Sounds very, like, I didn't really know about information systems before. It's just like computer science, but now I know a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
a lot of people don't. Yeah,
like it's just a different thing, and then like computer science is like more popular, but this is sort of an expansion on the like the previous question. But can you talk a little bit about the difference between like computer / infrastructure engineer, like computer systems / infrastructure engineer, and like software engineer? Like, what's the difference?
Oh, absolutely. So I'm going to talk about software engineering because that was kind of like my first role when I first got out of college, and it's still with the same company. So with software development, you're more focused on an application and you're kind of developing and testing and building out and using software development lifecycle methodologies against a particular application. And then whereas the systems or an infrastructure systems and infrastructure engineers can be used interchangeably depending on what shop. So systems is more focused on maintaining the health and infrastructure of an environment. So a developer may focus on like one piece of an application, whereas a systems or an infrastructure engineer actually does the build and maintaining of that system that application runs within. And so we also monitor the performance of a system. We look at the health of a system, how much memory is it using, how many users and how many applications are we running, and how can we make all of that run more efficiently. So we're kind of more about the train, keeping the health of the train, whereas the developers are kind of focusing on all the bells and whistles on the train, if that makes sense. That's the best way I can explain. That's like my best analogy.
So our next question is, what does a typical day look like for a computer science engineer?
It is a lot of meetings. Before school, I had this perception that I would just be coding all day and I'd be changing the world. And when I started working in tech, I realized that 70% of my time is dealt coding and problem solving and debugging and mostly meetings. So the first half of my days are mostly statuses and stand-ups on projects and statuses on things that I'm working on, that my team is working on. And then probably like late in the morning or early afternoons where I actually get to look at code or I get to play with new utilities and tools and how to make them better. So I actually don't touch code always first thing in the morning.
Okay, that sounds really interesting. Our next question is that what is your favorite thing about your job? I know like CS people could get tired like coding and stuff, but
Oh my God, yes.
right. But you know, if you have one absolute favorite thing about your job, like what would it be?
I'm kind of a nerd. Sorry, it's like really obvi, but I really do love debugging. Like when I was in school, it always bugged me why things wouldn't work, and I'd always like stay in lab a lot longer than I should have been trying to figure out why stuff isn't working. So I really love debugging. And I also like, because on the system side, I didn't get to do this when I was a developer, but on the system side, I love that I get to play with different technologies like Docker. I get to play with GitLab. I get to play with ZOS Connect, RESTful APIs. I get to play with different technologies, and no project is the same. So that's what I really like about on the system side, is like, I'm not just like developing maybe on one application, but I'm getting to play with different varieties of technology.
That sounds really cool.
Our next question is, what are some of the obstacles that you've encountered throughout your career? Like I saw that you overcame imposter syndrome. So can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, for sure. I always dealt with like not feeling that I was doing enough, or if always feeling like I didn't belong, especially when you're a woman and a minority. It's like a double whammy. But I had to overcome that. And how I did was, in the professional sector, I sought out mentors. Mentorship, I can't stress this enough. Mentorship is so important, and I probably need to make a post on this. But I kind of rallied with other women that were in the company, and they could be my allies, and they could speak for me, and they could say, these are the kind of projects that you should work to get more visibility. So I would stress mentorship, and then getting on projects that give you a lot of visibility to managers to help with promotion, and that people can see like, wow, they're really good, or their skill sets are really strong. So you want to get that visibility. And as women, it's kind of hard to do that. But if you partner with the right people, that can help you.
I think that's a really solid advice. And then the next question is really about, you know, you've kind of like already talked about it, but can you talk a little bit about your journey, like being a woman, a minority in the STEAM field, sort of not just how you deal with it, but like how you feel you've, you know, like just being in this field, because you've been in the industry for so long, and sort of already like, I'm not sure where the phase you're at right now. Are you like done with it, or are you like, I feel like I'm right, like I feel like I'm just like been dealing with this norm for so long, because I've talked to a lot of women in STEAM, and they're feeling like, you know, every single one of them have encountered some sort of obstacle in their like whole field. So I'm not sure which phase you're at right now, because you're in the industry for so long.
Definitely, like complete transparency. That day for me was probably last week when we had a production issue. But some of the things is the sexism. It's a very male dominated field, and it's like, it's so annoying kind of dealing with the boys club and kind of how to break through that. It's very competitive. You're always being compared to the most smartest person next to you. And that's just women, and then with women as well. And then they always try to give you like the not so, and you have to fight past it, but they always try to give you like note taker, or like, you know, note taker roles and stuff like in meetings. And I remember going to, complete transparency, I had a meeting where we were upgrading processors, and one of the architects in that meeting was like, I came into the meeting and he was like, oh, are you one of the note takers? And I was like, no, I'm actually one of the engineers that's working this project, so no, I won't be taking notes, but you can take notes. And so it's just dealing with those kind of small microaggressions that kind of like dig at you, and it's just like, seriously. And I deal with that sometimes a lot working in STEM and IT and engineering. It's very difficult, but sometimes you have to push past that and be like, you know what, I'm here for a reason. I have a purpose, and there's other people, there's other women, minority women that look like me, that are looking up to me, that want to work in this field. And you just kind of, it's kind of stupid. So it's like, you know, it's tough. So my advice for that, and I don't know if I'm like really answered that, but you do have to kind of face it, but there's non-combative ways that you can push past the microaggression, and you can kind of be confident, you know, and just say, you know what, actually, I'm not a note taker. I'm actually the person that's working this project, and these are my teammates, but thank you for asking, instead of having to be super aggressive. So, but there are some days where I am over it. I was like, oh my God, I just want to win the lotto. I just want to buy a house in Hawaii. I just want all my Hello Kitty plush dolls and my Yorkie, and like, I'm over it. Like, I definitely have my days like that.
Yeah, definitely kind of feel that when, like, especially I feel like it's weird because in like STEM classes, there's also like just a few women in my physics and my like CS class, but then I do super well actually, and then I get like high scores while all the boys are just like copying my homework. And then when I get, you know, when you like go on to work, it's sort of just become the reverse, where like women start to like, even if you do super well, they still look down upon you just because they're the majority. Right? So it's just like they don't believe in you even if you proved yourself. But what you did definitely is like very impressive, and I think it's still a long journey that women need to work like their way through. And then like, you know, so that's why we're doing this, and it's sort of like more of an inspiration to people.
I love that. I'm glad that you brought that up, because it sucks, because when I did retake those classes or whatever, you know, I remember when I was in those classes and I would ask guys for help, and they would look at me like I was stupid. And I'm like, I'm just asking a basic question. I'm not asking you on a date. I just want to understand, am I using an integer or what, or float? That's all I want to know. And so it does stink, because you kind of have to fight with this like toxic masculinity, and you dealt with it in school, and then you come to corporate and you're dealing with the same thing. And it's like, some of my male peers, some of them are really, really good. And then some of them you're just kind of like, you know what? I actually know how to do this better than they do, but they're the ones that getting the opportunity. But whatever, you know, I'll be cool and I'll wait in time. But yeah, it definitely happens. I think that happens like in every industry with women, whether it's medicine, tech, science, whatever. It sucks that women have to work twice as hard as men to prove themselves and to be seen and to be taken seriously, which is uber frustrating. But
yeah, exactly. I feel like it's always those who aren't as good sort of try to push women aside and then be like, you know, we're looking like, if you're like super smart, those people tend to like be more respectful to like all people, and they're just like treating everyone nicely. So that is just
exactly
the thing. Yeah.
Okay. No, that's true. Let them know I'm not the only one. So that, yeah.
So our next question is, what exactly is Glam Techie, and like why and how did you start it?
Yeah. So I started Glam Techie. So officially I started the Instagram last year, but Glam Techie, so I did a post about this. I probably need to repost it, but I split it up into 2 words. So, and I'm so glad, this is a great segue. So glam is kind of like feminism. And so because tech is such a male dominated industry, I was like, we shouldn't have to stop being feminine. Like some days I like to wear pretty dresses. I still get my gel manicures. Sometimes I like to wear dresses. Sometimes I like to wear my sandals. And so glam is kind of like embracing your feminism, and you shouldn't have to withhold being feminine and being girly and expressing your femininity in the workplace and in education sector. You shouldn't have to hold that back. And then techie is the technical. It's the more intellectual side. It's like, yeah, so what? I like to get my nails done. So what? I like to rock my Tory Burch bag. So what? I'm wearing concealer, but guess what? I can still develop like you. I can still debug like you. I can still solve the same math problems like you. So it's just kind of, glam is kind of like, I'm feminine and I'm not afraid to express my feminine, and techie's the intellectual. And it's just kind of marrying the two together. And so that's kind of what it means to me. And so I kind of did a breakdown on like some of the adjectives of what it means to be glam and what it means to be techie, but that's kind of how it came to be. I also started it because when I was in college 8 years ago, that was something I struggled with as well. I remember I had a professor tell me like, oh, you don't want to dress up too much because the guys will look at you different and they may not take you seriously if you come in wearing a dress. And I'm like, are you serious? I mean, This is a programming class. Like, who cares if I want to wear a dress to class? Like, I'm a girl. Like, you know, I should be able to express that without, you know, opportunities being taken or whatever. So that's why I started it, is for women to embrace their feminism in the workplace and in STEM, and then to be proud of it. That's probably like a long drawn out explanation, but
yeah, I think that's really, when I look at it, it's sort of very like distinct from all other like Instagram usernames. So that is super cool.
Thank you. That means a lot, because I was so nervous. I was like, oh my God, is anybody, like, I was like, if I ever start a blog or a YouTube channel, I was like, is anybody going to take this seriously?
No, totally. I think the all the advice and sort of journey, like you said, is super valid, and it definitely serves a lot of power, especially to people that are young and sort of like us who are still in high school and don't know like where we're going. That definitely means a lot. Yeah. So this is like sort of like the advice situation. So what is one thing that you wish you knew before entering the CS field? Like anything, like knowledge wise or like class wise or just like mindset wise? Yeah.
Oh, for sure. I can kind of combine all of it. And I'm glad to know that you guys are in high school. And I think you like applause and pat on the back for you guys, because this is wonderful, because I wasn't starting like organizations on social media. I was, you know, so, but my advice that I would give myself is and anybody, if you want to pursue anything in computer science or software engineering, software development, take programming classes or a boot camp before you start school. That is one of the biggest regrets that I had. Was I used to do a lot of science competitions, and they weren't necessarily programming focused, because science is kind of like my other love child, but tech is the other side. But I would definitely look into taking programming classes if you're going to go into programming, because it will set you apart from some of the other students. And then when you come into classes, you know, some of the assignments, because you've already had that practice and you have that foundation. And so there's different types of programming languages. You have your functional programming languages, like you have your Pythons, then you have object-oriented, you have your Java, you have your C++. I know C++, it was a lot when I was in school. We also did a lot of C. Oh my goodness. So I would definitely take programming classes if you can. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a boot camp. And then I would also get in organizations. Definitely, going back to the mentorship and the networking piece, definitely connect with organizations that are in the field that you're interested in. And that is something that I did. I joined National Society of Black Engineers. I joined the Society of Hispanic Engineers as well. So get in organizations and that are STEM focused. That is the career path that you want to get into, because I joined organizations that actually opened the door for me to get into science competitions and connect with other people. And I actually found 3 people. I found a doctoral student, I found an entrepreneur that actually gave me recommendation letters that got me in college. So just from joining those organizations. So study your field before you get to school, take classes, and get involved in network as much as you can around your field. That's like the best thing you could ever do. Oh, and sorry, and a little bit of advice too. Sorry. I wanted to preface and add on that is be encouraged, because it's going to be tough. It is definitely going to be tough. It's going to be hard. There's some days where I'm sitting in lab trying to get my program to compile, and I was like, you know what? I didn't have much of a social life because I was always in the computer lab. But definitely believe in yourself and why you started. Like if it's a screensaver on your phone, like I put positive affirmations on my phone all the time. Even though I've been working in tech for 8 years, always have a positive sticky note or a screensaver on your phone to remind yourself why you started. Because those days when they get tough, you want to have that reminder. And that's it.
That was basically kind of our last question too. If you have any advice for people that want to like major in computer science, because I'm thinking about majoring in computer science, or like I want to major in business too, but I'm not really sure like which route to take and stuff.
Yeah, and you know what? That's kind of why I made Glam Techie, is because for you guys, not just I know the emphasis is for like Black women, but also, and it says, if you look in my bio, it says Black and minority women. So that includes everybody, Asian Pacific, South Indian, Hispanic, Latino, whatever. So I would definitely, my advice is if you want to study in computer science, I would do a programming class. They have some free classes. Udemy is a great resource. W3 Schools is really good. Code Academy. I would maybe take maybe one programming class or lecturing and vibe it out and see if that's your vibe and if it's something of interest. And then I would also look at something in business related. So what is it in business that you are interested in?
Oh, I'm not really sure yet. I was just looking into that field of study yet. I'm not
okay.
sure. Yeah.
Okay. So I would just definitely look at classes and lots of YouTube to see if anything sparks your interest. And see if that is the right thing for you. So, and then I would also too, if you have any schools in mind, I know you guys are in California. So if there's any students that are in your desired school that are studying computer science, I would definitely see if you can get in touch with them or see if they're having an event at that university, and talk to them as well. That was something I did as well, is I talked to a lot of CS majors and information systems majors when I was in high school to kind of get their experience and what it was like, for sure.
Okay, I think that is all for our interview. I am going to stop recording